Hello and welcome to today's Ride Straighter, Deeper, Taller Challenge session. So just before we start, I just want to say what an incredible job you are all doing, because I know how mad and unlikely it must have sounded when you first saw my alert that the challenge was coming up this week, when I said that you could feel a huge difference from the very first day and feel so much more within a week. And you had to take a bit of a leap of faith in order to try it. But as all of your comments and posts and messages are proving, I was not making it up. This week, I am taking you on the first steps of the route to progress that took me years, a decade probably, not to mention multiple certifications and qualifications in so many different approaches to bring together. So you can see why I've now completely upended my life and previous career to be able to dedicate myself to sharing this really specific mix of approaches with you. Because I know that without this work in our lives, we are unknowingly riding at just a fraction of what we're capable of. We're putting up with blockages and frustrations and sort of not quite rightness and slow progress or no progress day after day. When the magic is that it's actually so much quicker and easier than you think to get big changes when you know how. And it's so exciting now to be able to be with you as you uncover what you can and will be able to do. Because we all just want to be great riders. And I'm impressed with your approach too this week, how when you've come across something that's been tricky for you at the moment, you've been getting on with it and adapting to be able to do everything that you currently can do as well as you can currently do it. Because it's so easy to think, oh, it's not quite perfect and I can't do this, so therefore I just won't do anything right now. Or, oh, this feels a bit weak, it feels a bit clumsy or not quite possible right now, so I'm not going to try. But no one ever moved forward like that. It's when it feels weak and clumsy that we most need it, just like when we're training our horses. And you're doing exactly what progress requires, and that is you're starting where you are, you're doing everything you can, focusing on getting it correct, skip something if you need to, and make the most of the 95% of the very many exercises this week which you can do. And this is how we make things happen. We've got to go through the clumsy bit, and the rewards on the other side are so worth it. So you have been making it happen, which is just awesome. Now, I know loads of you are wondering how you can continue everything that you've already started this week. And as you probably know from the current members talking about their courses and their 3-for-2s in the Facebook group, I've got a whole program that's an ongoing series of progressive 6-week online courses for you. They pick you up from exactly where you've already started this week, and they take you step by step from there to where you want to be. All you need to do is follow along. I've done all of the thinking, all of the planning about what you need to do when for you. The next course is starting this coming Monday, the 1st of April, and it is open for you to grab a spot and sign up now. So the sessions work really similarly to the challenge. They're short 25-minute sessions that you can do whenever suits you during the course. But, and this is important, you don't need to keep up with a new session every day. Don't worry, I wouldn't do that to you. It's 2 new 25-minute session videos a week. You can repeat them, you can do one of them every day, or you can do just the 2 new sessions each week, or everything and anything in between, whatever it is that suits you, so that you can fit it in. And there are built-in catch-up weeks at the end of each 6-week course, so you don't need to worry about life or a vacation or feeling a bit under the weather getting in the way and you missing a week or 2 in the middle. Plus, once you're in the courses, you get access to the course members' live Q&As too, so I can help you with any individual questions that you might have, and we share loads of tips for translating what we do on the mat onto the horse as well. So the course which follows directly on from the challenge is called Course 1, Get Going with Rider Pilates. And as I say, it literally continues you straight on from everything you've been achieving in this week's challenge so that you don't miss a beat of all of the progress you've already started to make this week. And it's really important to me that every rider and every horse's rider, if you know what I mean, can do this. So I always do everything I can to make the courses super affordable. And I've been offering the courses, as you will have seen in the Facebook group from current members, as a 3 for 2 deal, like a kind of 6-month-long special, which has been really popular, seems to work really well for people, so I'm sticking with it. It's a 3 for 2 offer for you now as well. So that's 3 for 2, 3 successive 6-week courses for the price of just 2. Your third one is completely free, and you can pay in easy installments too. Look, I think you can hopefully tell I really believe in what we do here, and I really believe in how it can help you, and I want every rider to be able to feel this, and every horse too. So I hope that this offer helps make it easy for you to keep progressing, to get even straighter, even stronger, even more supple than we can achieve this week. So the link is above and below this video on the pink button, where you can read all about it and join us just on the pink button. So now let's crack on with today's session. Enjoy and let me know how you go. So who is ready for day 3? We are on to the third of our 5 key areas in our body's riding system. So today we're looking at the hips and the thighs. And if you've joined in with the challenge before, then today we've got some of those new adaptations and versions that I've been talking about for you to try. So we're going to be busting a bit of a myth today. The idea that our riding muscles, as they're often called, are down our inner thighs. Now, when muscle usage patterns in riders have been studied scientifically, novice riders will grip through the thigh, and that's to compensate for the fact that they feel unstable through the upper body. But the problem is that gripping through the thigh actually makes you less stable, although it's instinctive, because it pulls your upper body forward. Try it on the horse and see. So that makes it really hard to get more stable and upright through the upper body, while ever those inner thigh muscles are pulling in and pulling you forward. Plus, a grippy thigh prevents the horse moving freely and forward through the shoulder, which is why the same rider biomechanics research shows that the more advanced and successful riders do not grip inward through the thigh. The inner thigh is soft unless they are choosing to use it to collect the horse when it comes on to give the aid and goes straight back off again. And yet in some schools and some places and theories of riding instruction, people still get taught to hold in constantly through the thigh, which is like riding with the handbrake on, and it's not where we want to end up. And once again, when we do grip, we're often going to do it more on one side than the other, and those muscles can get stuck on. So today we're looking at releasing all of that, releasing the hips, getting our inner thigh muscles equalized, and to stop holding themselves busy so that our thighs and legs feel like they can hang longer out around the horse. And we're going to tee up tomorrow's lower back and lower abs work with a gentle start in that area too. So enjoy the session, let me know what you think afterwards. Post in the Rider Pilates Club Facebook group, or comment below the video, or drop me a message, I'd love to know. Hello and welcome. So today we're going to start seated on a hard chair or stool. And you may also want this for the second stretch that we do, depending on whether or not you feel comfortable kneeling for a fairly decent period of time. So I'm going to give you a couple of options for the second one. So what we're going to do first off is we're going to use a very gentle move, which will feel like it's doing absolutely nothing at all when you're doing it, but which is really useful if you feel that you repeatedly get tight through the hip flexors and you stretch and it feels like it's doing great stuff when you stretch, but then they ping back up and are short again as soon as you think about it. And that's because quite often actually what we think of as a muscle that's got short and needs stretching is actually a muscle that has got short because it's kind of constantly on and it's overworking, and it's not so much that it's got physically short and you need to pull it physically long, it's more that it's got stuck in a state of overwork and we need to tell it to chill out and switch off. And so we do that by using these very gentle releases, which use the body's own mechanisms to get the body's systems to tell that muscle to let go. Okay, so it will feel like it's doing absolutely nothing. Cool. So sitting up nice and tall near the edge of the chair, what you're going to do, shoulders down away from the ears, long through the back of the neck. We're going to bring one knee up into the hands. And we're going to gently push the heel away. So we're not really shoving the heel down, but we do want the heel to be kind of leading this, because that's what will make sure we're using the correct muscles to get this whole chain reaction going. So from here, what you're going to do is you're going to fire the muscles in the glute just gently, so all of this will feel very gentle, to push the heel away from you down at an angle towards the floor, so that you're pushing the back of the thigh into the hands. Now you're only going to push to about 10% of your maximum effort, so it's very gentle, and your hands are going to resist to the same amount so that the leg doesn't actually move, okay? So, hands behind the thigh, heel going first. We're going to trigger the muscles, just focus to trigger the muscles in the glute to push the heel away to about 10% of our maximum effort. Feel the weight of the leg come into the hands. And we're going to hold there for about 10 seconds. So nothing's moving, it's very gentle. You're probably not feeling very much at all apart from that bit of firing in the glute and a bit of effort down into the heel and the weight into the hands. And after about 10 seconds, we'll gently come off. And then we'll move through and we'll reset to go again. So heel away, trigger the muscles around the seat bone in the glute to push gently that heel away up to about 10% of your maximum effort. Resisting with the hands for about 10 seconds. And release and just have a little move through. And then we'll reset and go again. So it takes quite a lot of concentration to make sure it's those glute muscles that are pushing, gently pushing the heel away. And it will feel really gentle in terms of what the glute muscles are doing. And like it's quite a lot of concentration to make sure it's them that are doing the work. And we've got this 10% of effort that our hands are resisting. And then after about 10 seconds, we'll gradually let it all come off. And we'll move through, and we'll do one more. So hands behind the thigh, heel away, fire the muscles in the glute to 10% effort maximum, pushing that 10% into the hands. The hands are resisting to hold everything stable. And after about 10 seconds, we will slowly and gently release and let everything move through. Super. Now let's do the other side. So thigh into the hands, heel ready to go first, and then we'll trigger the muscles in the seat to push the heel away up to that 10% effort. And if you can't feel the muscles in the seat going, then don't worry if you can't feel it. It is quite a precise little feeling, even if you're quite strong through the glutes. As long as you're leading with the heel, then you'll be doing the right thing. And then release and have a little move through and reset. Heel first. Fire up in the glute to push the heel only to that 10% effort. Everything very gentle. Resisting with the hands for about the 10 seconds. And release and move through. And go for number 3. Heel first. 10% of your maximum effort into your hands. For about the 10 seconds. And then release and move through. And last one. So heel first, up to that 10%. Don't be greedy, it's less is more with these. It's just about triggering the reaction rather than creating the change ourselves. And after about 10 seconds, we will release and move through. Super. So that probably felt like it was doing absolutely nothing, but trust me, there was all sorts going on in there in terms of the reactions and the systems that the body puts in place to create movement. So that's what we're working with in those kind of movements. And we use these that 10%, as you know, quite a lot in terms of trying to switch off muscles that are overactive rather than stretching muscles that are shortened. Cool. So for this next one, you can either do it kneeling, which probably would be my normal preferred approach, but I know that some people can't kneel for long periods of time or aren't comfortable with that. And so I've come up with an adaptation for you so that you can still, because this is so good, you don't want to miss it. So if you're going to do this kneeling, then let me just show you the position that we're looking at. So this is the position that we're going to need to be in for several minutes, okay? So if you're able to kneel like this, with this leg out in line with the body and up on one leg, and to do some movements in this position, then brilliant, go with that. If you can't, and I'll probably show you with the chairs, with the standing version, so that because it's a little bit more complicated, I suppose, to keep your balance, then this is what you want to do. So we're going to bring a chair, and with the chair, ideally, you want to make sure that you're able to get your foot to roughly around about kind of knee height, okay? It doesn't matter if it's a bit lower, but you probably don't want to be going too much higher because that's not going to be overly comfortable. So we're going to have the chair there to put the foot on, and then you will want something to help with your stability, unless you're amazing at standing on one leg and moving for multiple minutes, which is probably not most of us. So I'm going to use a chair, but you could do this near a wall, or a table or a counter or whatever works for you, okay? And so what we're essentially doing here is we're mimicking the same situation, the same setup, except we're in standing. So you'll see that I've got my foot around about the same height roughly as it would be if it were on the floor if I was kneeling, okay? So it's really simple, and what I would say throughout this is if this leg gets tired or you start to get crampy, just take a little rest and then get back into it when things have chilled out, okay? So it's a slow stretch, a slow release that's absolutely brilliant for us for the muscles that get really tight, especially if we ride short or ride in a GP saddle, the muscles down the inside of the thigh, but also up through the inside of the hip, and it gets to them like nothing else. So this is a setup that we want. So whether you're kneeling and have your foot on the floor, or you're standing and have your foot on the chair, we want to make sure initially that this leg is in line with the body, and the foot is roughly sort of parallel to sort of 90 degrees. That's not parallel, 90 degrees to the body. And then if you need something for stability, then obviously please use it. So this is our starting position, is we're going to tuck the pelvis under. So it's like tucking your tail between your legs. And our neutral position is to lean over like this. So when I refer to neutral, this is where we are, because you'll see what we're doing is we're bringing this side of the body into neutral, i.e. there's no sort of flexion or extension through that hip there. So the body is in line with that top leg. So we're tucking the pelvis under, tucking the tail between the legs, and we're in neutral initially. And then what we're going to do is very, very slowly, we're going to come up with the upper body to upright by dropping this hip down. So it's almost feeling like that hip is going down into the leg. Keep the tuck of the pelvis. And then when you've got the pelvis upright, already you'll be feeling a stretch down the inside of the thigh and possibly down the inside of the hip. Then we're going to stick the bum out. So full duck bum here. You'll feel the stretch intensify down the inside of the thigh and the front of the hip. And then we're going to lean forward and lift the tail. So full duck bum here at the back. You'll feel a stretch into a bit of the hamstrings, but you'll primarily feel the stretch down the inside of the thigh here. And then we're going to come back up really slowly, up to upright, keeping that hip down. Tuck the tail under, so we're tucking the pelvis under, and then keeping that tuck, we come back into neutral. Okay, and we keep going really slowly with that movement. So keeping the tuck of the pelvis, drop the hip down. From here, we take the bum back and we lift the tailbone. Lift, lift, lift. Feel the stretch through the front and inside of the hip. Lift, lift, lift as we come forward. And then we come back up to upright. Hip down, hip down. So we're really trying to keep that pelvis upright. Tuck the tail and then come back into neutral. And then we just keep going with that movement. So keeping the tail tucked, we bring the pelvis upright, pushing this hip down, feel the stretch down the inside of the thigh. Then we lift the tailbone, so duck bum, tail up in the air as we take the bum back. Keep the heel pushing away. And then slowly come back up to upright, tuck the tail, keep this hip down, and then come back over into neutral for 3. So we're going by stealth with this. Just keep going with that movement, dropping that hip down to bring the pelvis upright, then lifting the tailbone. Push the heel away to take the bum back. And slowly back up to upright. Tuck the pelvis. Back into neutral. And go again. Drop the hip down. Then lift the tailbone as you take the bum back. Lovely job. Drop the hip down, so pelvis upright. Tuck the tail under. Come back over into neutral. Cool. So as we go for the next one, what we're doing here is we're really asking those muscles to lengthen, but we're doing it really slowly and we're doing it in movement. So we're kind of keeping the muscles guessing. I call it getting in by stealth. Because the thing with especially these large muscles and these long muscles, so muscles like the hamstring or like the muscles down the inside of the thigh, if you pull at them when they're tight, then quite often, just like the horse, they just pull back. So we want to sort of get in below that kind of bracing response. Lovely. So making sure you've got the tail tucked as you come back over into neutral. And as I said, if you need a break at any time, just take one. Really focusing every time on getting this hip to go down. So really imagining that pelvis coming upright before you then lift through the tail, stick your bum up in the air, drop the belly to take the bum back. Lovely job. And then tuck the tail here at the bottom and come back over into neutral and feel everything come off. And just release. Lovely. And we're keeping going. And this is a brilliant one that you can do while, watching TV. Anything that's going to mean that you're present enough or distracted enough, if you know what I mean, to not rush it. Because if you try to rush this one, tuck the tail, if you try to rush this one, then it just isn't effective. It doesn't work in the same way. So you've got to go really slowly with this one. Dropping the hip down. Pelvis feels upright, keeping that heel pushing away as you lift up and back through the tailbone. And then come back up to upright. Tuck under. And come back into neutral. Now you can carry on with this, pause the video and carry on with this for as long as you need to feel like you're really beginning to feel lengthening and a relief through the inner thigh and through the inside of the hip. But I'm going to come over onto the other side. So pause the video if you need to in order to do more. And I think perhaps what I'll do with doing the other side is I'll do it kneeling so that you've got an idea of that as well. So you know the drill. If you need to set up in standing on the other side, then you're bringing the chair over to this side and popping your foot up. But what I'll do is I will show you now in kneeling so that I've shown you both versions. Lovely. Okay. So we're coming to the other leg. And we want the leg out in line with the body. And we're starting from our neutral position over here with the tailbone tucked. And so then the first thing we do is we come, make sure the heel's pushing away, we come to upright, pushing this hip down, feeling the stretch down the inside of the thigh, inside of the hip. And then from here, we'll lift the bum, lift the tailbone, and lean forward and feel the stretch increase down the inside of the thigh and inside of the hip. And then we come back up to upright, tuck the tail, and over into neutral. And go again. So dropping that hip down, and then lifting through the tailbone, so arching the lower back to lift the tailbone as the bum comes back. And slowly, slowly coming back up to upright. Tuck the tailbone here at the top, and then come back over into neutral and feel everything release and just let go and go back to normal. And then we go again, keeping the tuck, dropping this hip down, then lifting the tailbone to take the bum back, feeling the stretch down the inside of the thigh. Go back up to upright, tuck the tail, and over into neutral, and just keep going with that movement. Now, if you are able to kneel and are doing and can do this kneeling, I do think because you've got a little bit more traction and a little bit more ability to come forward, I think you probably get a slightly deeper stretch on this one. But it is also really good doing it standing with the chair. And this will be really useful for you, especially, as I say, if you tend to ride in a jump saddle or a GP saddle, or you ride quite short and you get tight down the inside here. There is nothing else that gets to these muscles quite in the same way that I've found, much as they might tell you that they do. And the key is working with that tilt of the pelvis, keeping things moving, and going in by stealth. Drop that hip down, then take the bum back. Lovely. Keep that heel pushing away. And just keep going for as long as you need to with this one. Tuck the tail at the top. Back over into neutral. Over. Dropping the hip down. Then lift the tailbone. Keep the heel pushing away. Back up to upright. Tuck the tail under. Over into neutral and let everything let go. I'm going to do one more, but as I said, if you still feel that you've got more stretch to come on this, drop the hip down. Then feel free to pause the video or rewind and do another set. Do as much as you need. Back up to upright. Tuck the tail under. Over into neutral. And release. Super. So if you need to do some more of that, do some more of that. But now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the muscles that we want active instead of those ones. So coming over to lying on your side. You can just line yourself up nice and straight. So I tend to use the back of the mat. And then take the legs out ever so slightly in front of the body just for stability. Pop a hand in front of you here for stability. And what we're going to do is we're now going to wake up the muscles that we want operating instead of those ones that have just been overworking. So you can either drop your knee in front of you on the mat here, or if you want an additional bit of stretch in the hips and you've got the flexibility to do it, you can pop the foot on the mat and hold on to it. So either the knee or the foot. So I'm going to go with the foot. And then bring the bottom leg back in line with the body so that you're nice and lined up, and push the heel away. And what we're going to do from here, keeping the hips nice and stacked and everything else still, we're going to push the heel on that lower leg away as far as we can, And then we're going to lift and lower. So push the heel away and lift and lower. 3, 4, and if you're only moving a few millimeters, 5, that's fine. You're activating the right muscles. 6, 7, 8, keep that heel pushing away, really push away with the heel. 10, 11, one more, and 12. Super job, lovely. And then we're going to switch around and do that on the other side. So either with the knee to the mat, or if you've got the flexibility and want a bit of extra stretch, pop the foot down to the mat. Reach the other heel away, leg back in line with the body. Push the heel away and lift. And 2, 3, heel first. 4, long through the leg, long through the heel. 6, 7, 8, 9, long through the heel, 10, don't worry about the range, 11, if you're only moving a few millimeters, 12, you're still activating the right muscles. Super job. Lovely. Cool. So let's bring the chair back into it. I'm going to give you a brilliant release now, which is a bit of a variation on the sort of cat-cow release that you'll be really used to. Except it also really helps us to get into the lower back and the hamstrings. So if your hamstrings quite often get tight, or you stretch your hamstrings and then almost immediately they feel like they're tight again and you're wondering what it is that's going on, this is a really good one for you for both the lower back and for the hamstrings. So stand around about 10-12 inches away from the chair, or from a low table or stool, or a high box or something, anything where you can sort of comfortably get your hands around about sort of knee height would do it. A bit of a softness in the elbow and a softness in the knee as well. And you're just going to stand here with your weight into your heels, and we're going to inhale to prepare, take the air into the back and side of the ribs, and then exhale to scoop through the abs from the knicker line up to lift up into a cat stretch, but keeping the legs bent and just gently supporting with the hands, and then release. Shoulders down, straighten the back. Lovely. Go again. Inhale, in through the nose, into the back and side of the ribs. Exhale to scoop the abs from the knicker line up, to push the spine up into a cat stretch, but keeping the legs softly bent. A little bit of pressure into the hands, but not a lot. And then release. And then we're going to go again. Inhale into the back and side of the ribs. Exhale to scoop from the knicker line, pushing up into that cat stretch, but keeping that bend in the knee. And release back down to straighten the back and bring the head back into line with the spine. And we're going to go again. Inhale, expand the back and side of the ribs. Exhale, lift up with the abs, use the abs to push the spine up towards the ceiling, but keep that bend in the knee. Only a little bit of weight into the hands, but into the heels and into the heels of the hands. Breathe normally here at the top. And then release. Let the shoulder blades slide back down the rib cage and the back come back to being straight. And we're going to do one more. Inhale into the back and side of the ribs. Exhale to scoop the abs. And lift. Lift, lift, lift. And when you're ready, after a couple of deep breaths here, Keeping those knees bent. We're going to release. Slowly, slowly back to neutral. Allow the shoulder blades to come down the back. And then release and come back up to standing. Super. So a great release for the lower back, but also a way to get into the hamstrings without sort of aggressively getting into the hamstrings, because they are an absolute classic for if you pull at them, they will pull back at you and then some. Super. So we're going to keep the chair and we're going to use it for a bit of support in a couple of standing exercises now. So what you want to do is come and stand around about 6 inches or so away from the chair. Just have it at a comfortable height where you can just use it for support. We're not really going to be leaning on it. It's purely really there for balance. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of moves that will activate the muscles that we want working in the glutes to help prevent the lower back getting tight, and to help prevent the hamstrings getting tight, and to help prevent those muscles on the inside of the hip getting tight. So all of those things that we've just looked to release. So standing tall, long through the back of the neck, shoulders down away from the ears. Make sure you haven't got too much arch in the back. We want to make sure we've got our ab muscles switched on a little bit here so that we're not overly arching into the lower back. And what we're going to do is we're going to take one leg and we're going to point the toes out behind us. Check in here, make sure you're not crunching into the lower back. So make sure your abs are on and you feel like your pelvis is still upright. Point the toes, but then rotate the leg so that the knee and the top of the foot are pointing out. Okay? So you will already feel that you're firing up some of the muscles in the glute here to create that rotation. Keep that feeling of rotation, keep the toes reaching long, keep the shoulders down away from the ears, and all we're going to do is lift and lower. 2, 3, keep the abs on, 4, 5, all of the work, 6, in the butt cheek here, 8, 9, reach long with the toes, keep the rotation, 1 more, 12, lovely. And then we're going to take the leg and cross it behind. So bring the leg up and then take it and cross behind. And up and behind. 3, 4, so it's coming back over towards 5, the opposite hip. 6, keep the toes reaching long. 7, keep that rotation. 8, keep the kneecap pointing out. 10, 11, so you're drawing a little arc almost, 12, and release. Have a little shake out through the leg, and then we'll do the other side. So I've swapped round so that you can see my leg more easily. Obviously you can just swap leg. Make sure you've got a little bit of softness in the knee, roll the shoulders back and down, abs on nice and strong to prevent us overarching into the lower back. And we're going to take the other leg out behind us, point the toe, reach the leg long and rotate it so that the kneecap points out. Keep this hip facing forward. And we're going to squeeze this glute to lift. So 1, 2, reach the leg long, 3, 4, however high you're lifting is absolutely fine. We want the work here in the glute. We don't want to be overly crunching into the lower back. 8, keep that rotation. Keep the shoulders relaxed and down. 10, 11, and 12. And then we're going to go with the crossover. So start with the leg over. So lift and cross. Lift and cross. Keep those abs on, so that we're not crunching the back. And again, however high you're lifting, 6 is absolutely fine. You will be getting the activation. 8, keep that leg rotated so the kneecap facing out. 10, 11, 1 more, 12, and you're done. Well done, super. So let's just have a stretch. Take the feet nice and wide. And from here, we're going to hinge forward from the hip, bend your knees if you need to, and then let the body fold down and forward for a nice long stretch through the back. Again, as I say, bend the knees if you need to, or take the feet wider if you need to. You can have a little sway here.
Stretching out down either side of the spine and either side of the waist. Let the arms hang heavy, let the head hang heavy. Feel the neck decompress. And then take the hands and walk over to one side, so you're in a kind of a twister stretch. Feel the increased stretch down the side of the waist and the side of the spine. Probably feel more stretch down one of the legs as well. Big deep breaths here. Really feel the rib cage on this side expanding and increasing that stretch. Lovely. And then walk the hands back through center and over to the other side. Feel the stretch down this side of the waist and this side of the spine. Big deep breath in through the nose into the ribs on that side. Feel the breath expanding the ribs and expanding the stretch. Lovely. And then walk your hands back into center, and you can roll slowly, one vertebra at a time, to come back up to standing. Well done, you have completed day 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you tomorrow. Great job. That is the 3rd of our 5 key areas of the body riding system. So don't forget to check your email tonight for your latest on-horse tip. And I will see you tomorrow for a brilliant session which really gets into the lower back, the lower abs, everything we need to be able to absorb the horse's movement, to sit the trot and not to get backache too. So I'll see you then.